Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make improvements in your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon, presented by 17 Hats. Hello and welcome to this episode. Today is an interview with Dori, who is the owner of Total Party. And if you have been to any event or any online education platform, there is a good chance you know Dori. She is very involved, she's very generous, and she talks in this episode about how she's kind of in this era of giving back. She has so much experience in the balloon world. She is a wealth of knowledge and just a very calm presence whenever she's around. She just has a good head on her shoulders, and it was a really fun interview hearing about kind of the long lifespan of her business and how she found a niche in mitzvahs and then how she pivoted during COVID. There's a lot of great info in this interview, and I hope you enjoy. And if you don't already know Dori, I'm very excited to be the one to introduce you to her because I'm such a fan. She's just a really great person. So let's take a quick break and head over to the UGLU hotline and then get into this episode with Dori, who is the last guest during this curated month from Balloon Coach. So let me really quickly just let you know that tickets for Balloon Boss Summit are still available. However, they are close to selling out because this event is limited to 100 attendees, and there are teachers in addition to that, but it is an intimate event where you can get all of your questions answered. You can have conversations with people that normally you wouldn't probably be able to speak to in such great depth. I remember having conversations with Balloons by Tommy and Dante of Dream Factory and just the Potzes from Balloon Masters. Like, I remember starting balloons and talking with these legends like very casually over a meal. It was so amazing to have that type of connection and that type of opportunity to talk to people who are doing the thing that I wanted to do. So that is what I think is the secret sauce behind Balloon Boss Summit, is the limited size, it is the close-knit community, and it is your ability to learn from people that are doing business really, really well and learn in a way that isn't intimidating. You can ask questions face to face. You can get hands-on with balloons. We do a lot of things, and it just feels like a very friendly, warm community. So if you are just starting out or if you are experienced, I truly think that you can find something of value at Balloon Boss Summit. I will be there. Dori will, of course, be there. Many of the guests that you heard from this month during the Balloon Coach curated month will also be there. And many of us go back every single year, which I think is a testament to the quality of the event. So I look forward to it. Like I said, tickets are available, but they won't be for much longer. So check out the link in the show notes wherever you're listening and see if this is a good fit. I can't say enough good things about this event. Truly, it catapulted my business into where I am now. So if you can join us, I hope that you make it a priority and try to be there. All right, let's take a quick break and then head into this interview with Dori. Welcome to the UGLU hotline, where we discuss great advice that sticks. Brought to you by Pro Tapes. If you have a question or some great advice to share, click the link in the show notes to call in and leave a voicemail.
Hi, Sarah. My name is Laura Welsh. I am the owner of LWP Balloon Creations, and I'm located just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've been ballooning for just over a year. I'm a full-time photographer and a mom of three, so it's kind of like my side hustle, even though it's a real business. So I am a huge, huge fan of your podcast. I love how relatable you are and easy to listen to. I even bought your 2024 planner, and I'm slowly getting it filled in. But I'm calling in with a tip of the day for the balloon stuffers out there. So whenever you stuff your balloons in like a balloon machine, like a Balloonsy or anything, there's a top rim that you put the neck of your balloon around. And sometimes if you have longer nails or even if you don't, sometimes it's just difficult to get the neck of the balloon off after you have finished stuffing it. So my tip of the day is to put a piece of tape around the outside rim of the balloonsy. So you put it from the inside to the outside, and that way when you're all finished, you just kind of lift it up, and that piece of the balloon pops up, and you can just easily maneuver the rest around. Yep, so that's my tip of the day, and I appreciate you listening. Congratulations on your baby, and thanks.
Pro Tapes is a leading manufacturer of specialty tape products like Pro Gaff, Pro Artist Tape, and our favorite balloon tape, U-Glue, which helps you create amazing balloon arrangements and decorations in less time. You can save 5% on U-Glue when you buy directly from Having a Party using code BRIGHT at checkout. Welcome to this episode, Dori. 22 years in the balloon industry, in the event industry. You are the owner of Total Party. Where are you located?
I am in East Brunswick, New Jersey.
New Jersey. I feel like New Jersey is the world capital of balloon artists. There are so many of you there. Are you one of the people who have been doing it the longest, do you think?
We've had a QBN chapter here for years and years and years, like predating me. And so there's still a few who are around.
Very cool.
Doing it even longer.
Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. We were talking about your long career in events and balloons and your streamlining and how you kind of said the pendulum has swung, heavy on balloons, heavy on events, heavy on business, heavy on family now. So we're going to talk about all of that. But let's start with kind of a broad introduction. Who are you? What do you do?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm Dori Sapol from Total Party, like I said, in East Brunswick, New Jersey. I started out as a project manager, like in a previous life. So that has sort of come full circle. Even before that, I was like the Pied Piper of my neighborhood. So I love kids. I've always loved kids. So kids, project management came along, doing parties happened when I was 12 and 13. Like we started a little party business on the side. Thought we were super cool, called ourselves the Party Animals. So it's all kind of come full circle. But yeah, I did corporate America for a while, found project management, then planned events in the corporate America realm. Then when they laid off thousands of us, I said, this is my chance to start my own thing. So I jumped in with 2 feet, and that was over 22 years ago.
And what did you start doing? Like, what was the very first thing that you were like, this is going to be what I do?
Well, because of my Jewish background, because I love kids, and because I have a psychology background too. So like all of that together sort of made me comfortable working with the bar and bat mitzvahs. So my idea was to be almost like a wedding coordinator, but a party planner for the bar and bat mitzvahs. Like that was going to be my plan. At first, I thought I had to be everything to everyone. It took me a while to realize that you must niche down. And so that's what I said I was doing. I just jumped in and said, I am party planning for bar and bat mitzvahs.
See, I think I'm kind of envious of that focus, because where to find your ideal client, the literal age that they are.
Right.
you know your clientele so well. I think sometimes being that specific that's like a dream of mine. I crave that. But I also would imagine that sometimes there's like panic if you're like, the well has run dry. Like there are no clients right now.
That's sort of what's happening now, actually.
Okay.
It's really interesting. Yeah, since COVID, things have really shifted, and the big $150,000 parties are not really happening anymore.
Interesting. Why is that?
I think people realize they don't have to spend that much money to have an event anymore. It was for a while, let me outdo this neighbor and that neighbor, and it just got crazier and crazier and crazier. And I think COVID hit, you couldn't have an event, and it became like a Zoom thing.
Yeah.
Watch somebody have this ceremony on Zoom, and there was no party, but the religious part still happened, and the party could be minimal or smaller. And then it just hasn't gotten back to the full grown wild craziness that it was prior to COVID.
Is that really what people would spend?
Oh my gosh. In 2015, I won it was ISIS, the International Special Event Society, now ILEA. I won
That was
special.
probably a pretty good name
Yeah,
change on their
obvious
part.
reason for that name change. So I won New Jersey's chapter event, special event planner of the year.
Wow.
Maddie's bat mitzvah, and Maddie's bat mitzvah budget was probably about 150.
Oh my gosh.
And that was all on me spending my clients' money for the whole like it was wild. I didn't sleep for like a month. Like everything in my house was on hold because my whole life was like, let me get through this event.
You're like, it's all about Maddie. Maddie is my daughter right now.
Seriously, like that became this way I lived. Like when the events weren't quite that big, it was still like you live for this party for the week of, and then you did it all. It started on Monday. You start all over again, living someone else's life, for the week, making sure everything is set, ready to go. You set up the event, plan it, plan, execute, and then you're on to the next. So it was a wild ride of.
So when you were doing the planning, were you actually like doing the projects as well? Like you're very crafty, like you know how to do all the things. I can even see like your workshop behind you. You have all the things. Were you actually like making the centerpieces and doing the balloons and like, or were you just arranging that stuff and figured, hey, I could do this?
Very early on, people asked to see my work. And I realized that being just the coordinator wasn't going to work. They wanted to see balloons. And if I showed them an arch in red and white, they would say, well, what would it look like in blue and white? Ugh. No imagination, right? I think you've talked about that on your podcast.
Yeah, it's insane.
Not imagine, right? So then I was like, I have to do this myself. I have to do it myself. And so that's when not only did I do the balloons, but I started taking on the theme centerpieces. I was making the place cards. I was making the sign-in books. I was like ordering favors and hoodies and t-shirts and mugs and backpacks and put it all together, like everything.
That is so much. That is so much.
It was a lot. It was very stressful. And I realized I was making pennies per hour because I couldn't mark up all those things as much as we mark up balloons.
Right. Like if a backpack costs $20, you can't sell it for $200.
No, it was 21, 22. It wasn't accounting for all the time it took to personalize, like wrap it, tie it, organize in alphabetical order, or put them on the seats in the right order where the kids are sitting. Like there's so much that went into it that I was like, okay, this is not a get rich quick scheme at all.
Did you have a moment like over the 22 years, was there like an aha moment where you were like, actually, I'm going to focus on balloons?
I had an inkling probably about 15, 16 years in that I was like, the balloons are more profitable, but I didn't want to say I couldn't be one-stop shopping. Like that's what I found my customers wanted. When one person knows the whole plan, you have a cohesive event. So if I just did the balloons and somebody brought in like turquoise linens that didn't match my balloons, I'd be like, oh, yeah, like hideous. So I wanted the whole picture to come together, but it wasn't until COVID hit when we could only do balloons that I realized like, okay, this is smacking me in the face. Like this is my push to just let the rest of it go and say, I only do balloons now, which is still really hard.
That is really hard. I want to take a quick break. And then I want to spend a little bit of time on that because I think it is really difficult to not offer something you used to offer. Something as simple as a balloon offering, but something as complicated as like a lot of services like you used to. So let's take a quick break and then get into that. Are you ready to take your balloon business to the next level? Look no further than Having a Party Wholesale, your ultimate destination for all things balloons. Having a Party Wholesale is on the cutting edge of new products that will wow your clients from top brands like Tuftex, Jamar, Anagram, Ellie's, Sempertex, Premium Conwin, and introducing Brookloon, a new balloon line created by the Having a Party family. They've got the widest selection to fuel your creativity. Join the successful league of professional balloon artists who shop at havingaparty.com. Okay, so you wanted to pull back on the event planning, but like as someone who used to be a face painter, it's hard to just be like, I don't do that anymore. It's hard when people are trying to give you money to do something you know you can do. What did that look like? That phasing out of your coordinating?
It took years, I would say, because when you do bar mitzvahs and you do like the one kid, maybe 2 years later, they have another kid.
Mm,
2 years after that, they have another kid. So if you do well with the first one, they tell you hold the date for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. And so I had these dates and I was like, what do I do? How do I tell it? So for years, it was so hard to say, I know I did your party 2 years ago and I did everything for you, but I'm really not doing that anymore.
yeah.
It was really hard. Now it's been maybe 4 years, right, since COVID started. And it's sort of like enough that people now understand that I will help you with your balloons, but get your invitation somewhere else. Like,
Yeah.
and if you're really in a pinch, maybe I'll print your place cards, but like it's so they still pull me back a little bit for some things, but it is so hard for me to say no. Like just being a people pleaser person, it is hard to say no.
Yeah. I have people even reaching out who got like a party poll during COVID, which they're like, oh, they'll like send me a picture. I'm like, why do you have a picture of this? They're like,
Right.
oh, you did this for our, my mom's birthday 4 years ago. Can you do it again? And it's like, I feel bad even being like, no, I don't offer like a $50 delivery item for your yard anymore. Those were desperate times, man. Like those are not on the menu. But it's hard because I don't I feel like I overcomplicate it. It's like, oh, but they expect it. And it's like, well, so what? Sometimes I go to a restaurant and I can't get the thing that I ordered two
Right.
months ago. They don't
Right.
offer it anymore and they're not going to make it special. So I think, yeah, saying no is really hard for me as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it is something I still struggle with.
Yeah. And with your offering, so I mentioned this to you before we started recording. I will see on Facebook like you're selling off this, to me it looks like scrapbooking stuff. I'm
Yeah,
assuming it's something you made like invitations or place cards or centerpieces, like, or you were selling off like little light up letters or little, a bin of florals. Like you're actively getting rid of stuff, which is like my dream. I love getting rid of stuff. But is that hard for you to like part with these things?
it is hard to part with. And I kind of go in phases. I'll look at a bin and I'll be like, no, I'm not ready to part with that stuff yet. But this bin, like now I'm ready to like let it go. Um, yeah, I mean, when you do theme centerpieces, you have buckets of stuff for every theme. And the client would say, I think it's going to be 10 tables. So you would order enough supplies to make 12 just in case, or 30, because the last minute they'd be like, oh, it's really 15 tables.
Right. And
So
you're
I'm
like,
like,
well, I don't have that. Yeah.
so I always over order, like always over have way too much stuff. And so now I have buckets of stuff. I mean, music theme, beach theme, like horse riding, like crazy themes. And I'm like, why am I holding on to all this stuff? So yeah, so it's funny that you guys see, I forget like people who I'm friends with see across the country or across the world, like what I'm putting on Facebook Marketplace. But yeah, I think it's time to declutter.
And
Like
where has all this stuff been? I should have asked this in the beginning, but have you always been home based?
I have always been home based. Yep. I have a basement, which is my workshop slash warehouse. I have a shed out back, which is basically holding glass vases now, tons of glass vases, which I should start to declutter those as well. Yeah, so I've been a home base. Luckily, I have a separate entrance. So the house I think was built to be like a mother-in-law suite, if you're familiar,
Okay.
like that kind of concept where it's a side door, walk into what probably would be a living room area, which I've made my meeting room, and then a bedroom with a closet is like what I've made my office. So it is separate from the rest of the house, so they don't have to walk through. So it's
So
always
do you have clients come to your house?
I did pre-COVID, like they'd sit, we'd talk for hours and plan the whole thing, and I would be able to show them this is a possible centerpiece. Here are the
Oh my
colors of
gosh,
balloons. Here
this
are
is
the
my
favorites.
literal nightmare. Like what you just explained, to have someone in my house for hours talking about their party, I'd be like, I need you to leave right now.
I found it worse in the very, very beginning, like 22 years ago, when I went to people's houses. That was the worst.
Really? Why?
Oh
You
my
could just
God.
leave.
But they would be like, oh, wait, my kid's screaming. Let me, like, we'd sit at their kitchen
Oh,
and they'd be like,
yeah.
the phone would ring and they would answer. And like, what? Did you not see me sitting here with you?
Oh my
Oh, it was
gosh.
crazy. I couldn't wait to leave people's houses. Like they just have no concept of your time.
So are
So
you doing that now? Do you have consultations in person?
no, I really don't. Since COVID, nobody wants to come over. It's all email. It's all email. phone calls a little bit, but
Hmm.
mostly all email correspondence. I mean, it's still a lot of word of mouth. It's a lot of people that I know. If, they come through the website, maybe a corporate client that I don't know, but it's all via email. I mean, corporate clients aren't coming by anyway.
So, yeah, that is something I'm curious. So, I have been in business 10 years. I still feel like a newbie, but like I'm not. I mean, like there's a lot of people who started over COVID or like even kind of on the end of COVID. So,
Yeah.
I think the average, again, this is based on zero research or data, but I would say the average age time wise in business has dropped a lot in the last few years. I feel like there's a lot of new people
Yeah.
and debatable. I feel like a lot of those people are maybe leaving the industry or like part-timing it now. Like they were kind of in and now they're kind of
Mhm.
out. So, but I don't think there's a lot of people who have been doing it for 22 years. Um, so during the 22-year time of, bookings and email and calls and in person, all
Yeah.
of that. At the end of the day, is it mostly just repeat business now?
It's a lot of repeat business now.
That was
It
the
is.
longest way to get to a question
Yes.
ever. But that's what I'm like. I feel my business shifting, being in 10 years. I'm looking at my calendar now and like, I would say like 30 to 50% of my bookings are repeat, which are like awesome. It's so easy. It makes it so much better because they trust you, you know them, you half the time it's the same exact event and they want the same exact thing. So like my goal is to like take only repeat customers. I don't think that's realistic, but like how nice would that be? So do you do any sort of like paid marketing or advertising to get new people?
I don't really. That's what's kind of interesting, and I think goes to the like work-life balance where I worked, and then realized I had no life, and now I'm like shifting to more of the giving back to the community, maybe working a little bit less, but spending more time with my family also. So I'm not reaching out to make cold calls or find really like the new clients. Ironically, there have been a couple of businesses that have gone out and they've given me their clients, like the colleges and universities around here. So I picked up a couple of clients just because they've closed down. But
Like other balloon companies have closed down?
yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Other people like they've retired. They've been in the business for many, many years and retired. And I'm starting to pick up, their accounts. But for the most part, I'm not. I'm paid advertising never worked for me. What was good for me were the showcases. So back in the day, there were like party showcases where I would
Hmm.
pack up my office, inflate balloons like crazy, show centerpieces and all the things. And people would come through 2, 3, 4 years before their bar mitzvahs
So
happened.
like, yeah, what I remember going to wedding shows, when I was
Yep,
getting married and this was the same thing, but for
exactly.
kids.
Yes. So I found that a great way to get the exposure and be like, show the balloons because people can't visualize. So show them everything that we did. And that was a great way to get new customers in the door. Now it's a lot of networking. I'm
Hmm.
still involved with our New Jersey Balloon Network. It's still our chamber. It's still like local networking events um, to get the word out. I'm trying to focus more on the corporate clients and work more during the week and have my weekends free because for like 20 years I didn't know what it was like to have a weekend off.
Yeah.
So that pendulum has definitely swung the other way, and I really now cherish the weekends off. Um,
Yeah, I'm jealous too. I've started setting aside Sundays.
mhm,
Um, which is hard because in our area, showers are like a Sunday thing. Like most people in my area don't go to church anymore.
mhm,
Or if they do, it's not enough of a commitment to not have a baby shower or wedding shower on like a, Sunday morning or early afternoon. So it's really hard to set aside Sundays. But lately, I kind of have been. I think it's just not really shower season right now. It's like back to school season, but it's been really nice. Even just having one day a weekend off, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. It's like how the other half live. It
yes,
feels really, really good.
seriously. Yeah, people didn't understand that it was like a 7 day a week job when you're planning, and then like setting it all up, executing, and then Monday you start again. Like
Yeah.
it was a lot. It was
So you've been self-employed for 22 years.
yes.
And you can do this. Like asking for a friend. I mean, no, it gets overwhelming and sometimes you're like, I should just go get a job. Like this
Oh
isn't
yeah.
worth it. Like have you had moments of like this is stupid. I shouldn't do this anymore?
Oh yeah. I've had the moments where I'm like, I can scan things at Target and say, have a great day. Like I can smile and be like, yes, and then leave my work at work. And
Yeah.
it's really hard when you are working from home, like it's around me all the time. And I'll just like stand up and I'll be like, oh, I should call that person back. Oh, I should inflate it. Oh, I should order those. Like it's constant. Like it's
Hmm.
really hard to have that work-life balance when you're living in your workspace.
Yeah, yeah. And well, let's take another break because that's another thing that we want to talk about is that work-life balance. You said you're trying to prioritize that more by cutting back a little bit. And same, I'm struggling with it. It's hard. I have a new baby and I know I should be prioritizing my family, but you can't also just like stop working. Like it's really
Right.
hard to do. So let's talk about that after the break.
Are you looking to grow the number of businesses you're working with? From the small retail shop doing a grand opening in your downtown to the large Fortune 500 that has a fulfillment center or a warehouse or a large office building in your community. On the Balloon Suite blog, you can find the details on how to find and approach businesses of all types and of all ranges and size so that you can grow your sales and grow your revenue per order. Come on over to the Balloon Suite blog to learn more at balloonsuite.com.
Okay, welcome back. You mentioned before we started recording, I don't know if you said it during, but like you started your business before you had kids. So your family has come along for the entire ride. And sometimes I'm like looking around like, is anyone else doing this well? Or are we all just like silently suffering? Like it's hard to do with a family. I don't know how people do it as single parents. I couldn't fathom because my husband does
Right.
like all of the child stuff when I'm not home. How have you juggled this for 22 years? Or are you getting to the point where you're like, I wish I had done some things different?
Oh, for sure. I wish I had done some things differently. I should have asked for help a long time ago. Like, I'm just not a person who asks for help. I just think I have to figure it out. So, I mean, that's the amazing part of like Balloon Coach. Like, just because there's so much information there, like a lot of it's figured out for you. But back in the day, I was just like, I'm going to figure this out. And I didn't know that you could ask for help. So I was just plugging along. And then it wasn't until I had my first son where I was like, I need somebody to help me. And so I found a girl who was willing to come and help me inflate. She eventually like kind of locked herself in the car at one point helping me, which is a whole nother story. And I was like, maybe she's not the right one. But any help at that point was great. We could all like write books about all the people who have helped us or not helped us along the way.
Exactly, right?
But that was eye-opening just to have somebody like inflate, like
Hmm.
help me inflate, help me deliver. That was great. And so from then on, I had part-time people like as needed on the crazy days or the busy weekends when I needed help. I've now, I mean, for years now, have started asking for help, and I've had people kind of come through, stay for years. Like people were very loyal. They only left like when they were moving or when they were getting married or when they had life events happening.
Right.
So I was very lucky to have the help. It's only since COVID really have I gone back to doing things basically on my own. Um,
And is
Again,
that by choice or is that because you can't find anyone good?
most of it's by choice. I'm a planner. I like to work in advance. I want to know the schedule. I want to know I have everything ordered. I inflate early. I don't like relying on other people just because I know I can just get it done.
Hmm.
Only when I realize like time is of the essence or something else is happening simultaneously, like then I will call in, backup. I've just gotten used to now working this way again because I don't want to work 24/7.
Yeah.
It's not as many events as it used to be. It's more manageable. So,
Yeah.
I don't get very last minute bookings. That's really the exception. So I know what's coming down the pipe. Like I know what I need. I know when I can inflate. I know when I'm delivering. Like I feel like I have a better control over like what's happening. And so if I need people, I know I need people and I can bring them in, but otherwise like I can figure out how to do it.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned too, in terms of like getting help is not necessarily like people, like labor, but let's give a quick shout out to Balloon Coach. You mentioned that you joined that community because there are a lot of like done for you things or like people who have at least figured out some of the stuff where you can post a question and be like, hey, what's the solution for this? What's the wording? How do I get out of this tricky situation? Well, I mean, I think you've been in business so long, you could have very easily been like, I don't need I don't need a mastermind. I don't need help. What do you enjoy about being part of that group?
Well, I've found over the years it's the people. I mean, way back, I think my first IBAC was 2003, and I was blown away by the people, like how helpful everybody is, how willing to share their information. And it's really the same people that are still there. Like it's that, I mean, just having a community of people, like your tribe, just having people you can ask, they know what you're going through. They're going through the same thing you're going through, or they're about to go through something. Like you just being, and now I'm in this like phase of giving back. So like, I'm happy to answer questions for people who are now going through it. Like it's like just being a resource, just being helpful. But you never know, like weird things do come up, and you now have people that you could ask. But
Yeah.
there's so many videos now out there, like not YouTube videos, but like balloon coach videos and stuff. Like if you were just starting, you basically have everything handed to you. Like
Yeah.
here and like do this and then this and then this. So it's totally different than,
Yeah. What was it like when you started? How did you learn?
I tried to find conferences and classes and conventions. And I mean, in the previous life as a project manager, I knew there was a professional organization for a project manager. So when I decided I'm going into event planning, I found the event planning people, found that professional organization. And then I found that there were QBN chapters. So I was like, let me join my QBN chapter. And then they quickly sucked me in, and was president of that organization for 8 years. And so it was, you just find the classes, find the conventions, find WBC and all those things that happen.
Yeah.
I'm like a lifelong learner. I just want to know all the things. So like
You're on every call, on every meeting. If I'm ever like, oh, I want to join this call, but I don't know, I kind of tell myself like, Dori will probably be there. It's fine. Like I did like an in-person book club twice and you were there. I was like, Dori's here. You really are like, you like being in the know and also on these calls. Is that because, I'm learning it's hard not to have coworkers? Do you feel like, that's how you stay connected to your quote unquote balloon coworkers all over the world?
yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. I mean, in corporate America, I was like the corporate mom, even though I was only 25. People would come and sit and talk and tell me their life stories. It was like a hub. Like, I don't know if it was the psychology background. They tell me everything. Like, it was great. It was Grand Central Station, we called it. Like,
That's how I was too, because I was like, tell me anything so I don't have to work right now. I don't care about my job.
I even planned events like everyone should walk away from the computer for 5 minutes, come and have cookies.
Oh my gosh, I want to work with
We
you.
called it R&R, like rest and relax. These people were stressed. These people were like my parents' age, grandparents. This is the phone company. So like everybody was older than me. I was like the youngest one. And I was like, these people are working 60 hours a week. And I didn't know what project management was at that point, but I was like, this is something that is way too stressful for me and I never want to be part of it. But once I realized like it was amazing, the Grand Central Station part of it and the people part of it. And then cut to I'm a solopreneur working by myself. Like, where is everybody?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was a massive shift. And so it took a long time to find the people. Like, where are the other people? Are they event planners, party planners, or balloon people? But it's the balloon people that are just so amazing.
I agree. And I feel like, we've mentioned this pendulum swinging. Like I kind of feel like maybe it's swinging back to in person. I feel like, when you started, it was probably that was the only option, right? There was no YouTube, there was no anything.
Right.
And then when everything was so available, it felt like everyone was on YouTube. Everyone's learning from Instagram. Everybody's going like virtual conventions, right? And now I feel like it's almost coming back the other way. And I guess I'm basing that on the fact that like I hosted a retreat and people came. And like I'm still like, I can't believe anyone came to this. Like, I'm so excited. But the number one thing that everyone said was like, they just wanted to be around other balloon people. Like, here I'm like preparing, like, oh, this has to be like the most impactful weekend. What are we going to teach? What are we going to do? And it was cool because a lot of the people were like, I'm just here to be here. Like my goal is to be here and take time away from my busy life and my family to be with other people and have those connections. So I do think that there is this demand for in-person learning.
100%. No, for sure. Even like the BBBs, like, and any kind of time you can get together and just feel like you're working together with a group of people, like it's a good feeling. Even if you're learning at a conference or just building, like it just, I think that's why we love it. We get
Yeah.
that connection. like it fills us up when we're all together.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned your family. Were they ever involved? Like, did your kids ever work for you, or were they just like hard pass? I don't want to do this.
Oh my gosh. For the longest time, they were like, no, thank you. They're just now 17 and 15. So
Okay.
now I can say, you're coming with me. Like, let's go. Yeah, but for the longest time, I was doing it by myself. Like, and they were along for the ride. I mean, I taught them their colors. Like, they didn't really know red, yellow, and blue. They knew like burgundy and lime
Oh,
green.
that's funny.
And we'd make everything into like a math problem. Like, mommy has to inflate 99 balloons. She's only done 2. How many more? They're very good at math. But yeah, just now finally I'm like, you'll come with me. Like, you can, I mean, some places they have to be 18. I still can't take them in. But for the most part now they're able to help. So it's like, finally, I've been waiting how many years to like have some family labor.
Nice. I know. I always tell my 4-year-old, I'm like, this is your legacy.
Oh yeah, we talk about that too. Like, don't you want a balloon business? And they're like,
Well, no, I was going to ask, do you have an exit plan? Like, are you going to sell one day, or are you kind of just like now are you just kind of doing what you want and like a maintenance phase, and when you're done, you'll be done? Like, what is your plan? Do you have one?
I need to come up with a real exit strategy. I mean, I think if the procedures are documented and I could hand like a book of this is how we run the business over to someone, then it's worth it. I mean, just selling off balloons and machines, I feel like is really a sad way to end.
Yeah.
A huge,
And at that rate, you might as well just keep it in case you just want to like do an arch one day, like I'm like, how much are you really going to get by like I don't know. I have some inventory. I have some machines, but I'm not going to get like $100,000. So I rather just like, hang on to stuff.
Right. I mean, I don't have plans to retire anytime soon. My 17-year-old is just applying to colleges now, and the cost of college is
Insane.
terrifying. So I'm not planning on retiring yet, but I do want to formalize all the, like, I love lists and spreadsheets and procedures, and like I just have to put it in a nice book and be like, this is how I run my business, and this is how.
Do you have any inkling of maybe going the other direction, and when both your kids are out of the house, like ramping it up?
That's a possibility. Although I don't want to be lugging helium tanks and base plates around when I'm like 60, 70.
Yeah.
Like
It's
that,
physical. Yeah.
that part. Yeah, it is. Like, I had an early job this past weekend, and getting up at 5 to get out there and put outdoor arches up. And like, it took me a while to recover from that. Like, it takes a lot, on your body, and recovery is getting slower and slower, I realize. So,
do you think even when you're quote unquote retired, or like intentionally cutting back a lot, do you think you'll always go to conventions and builds, and like, I think I will. Like, I don't know, maybe that's dumb to say, but like, I feel like that is as much my like social community at this point as it, like, I remember going to float and being like, what's with these old ladies? They're not even like, they don't even have businesses. Like, what are they doing here? And now I'm like, oh, goals. That's my goal in life, is to go to float and be like, I don't even have a business. I'm just here to have fun.
That's so funny. I mean, I'm almost at that point now where I do like the balance of like, I am going places. I can go to a convention. I can go to a BBB. I can work. Like, all the things are happening all year long. So it's not like it's one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the mix. So like, my calendar for the year is like, oh, I did that and I did that and I did that. And I still made a decent amount of money, like working, in my business. So
yeah, I agree. I feel like my kind of mark of success for me is lately like being able to take a week off to go do something kind of recreational balloon related, where like I was able to pay for it comfortably. I wasn't stressing about not taking work. Like, it's no longer about like, how much can I make? It's like, oh, this feels comfortable doing things I like in addition to working. Like, that balance does really feel good. That's kind of my marker of like, oh, I'm doing it the way I want to.
Doesn't that feel good?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's take our last break, and then we have some fun final questions that have nothing to do with balloons that I just like to ask people. Hey listeners, before we wrap up today's episode, let's talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Balloon Guild. Do you ever see amazing balloon decor online and wonder, how did they make that? The Balloon Guild is revolutionizing the industry by standardizing recipes, SOPs, and offering unparalleled training. Their mission? To elevate balloon artists worldwide, ensuring efficiency, profitability, and unparalleled professionalism. For business owners and their teams, the Balloon Guild isn't just a resource, it's a game changer for growth and development. For me, it's been the ultimate shortcut in finally getting things out of my head and onto paper, so I'm not making things up on the fly, and so my team can work together to create consistent, fast decor. Visit their platform today at theballoonguild.com or by using the link in the show notes. New recipes and resources are released every month. All right, welcome back. Final 3 questions. The first one is vacation. Where do you love to go on vacation?
So we've recently started going to Cape Cod. It's actually quite relaxing. It's really quiet, and it's a nice place to just get away from the craziness of New Jersey.
Very cool. How far is that for you?
It's about a 5-hour drive.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I feel like you can get from like Maine to whatever south of Maine in less than 5 hours. Like all of New England is just a mystery to me. Like I always say when I had my United States puzzle when I was little, it was all just one piece. It was like the states were too little to be individual pieces. So I'm like, I know they're up there, but I'm just like, it's one piece. I kind of know New York. And other than that, I can't remember. But yeah, okay, 5 hours. That is far. Next one. Material possessions. What can we buy? Give us some ideas. What is the best thing that you have purchased in the last few months that you're obsessed with?
Well, my obsession with pens and stickers and stationery goes way, way back. I think way back. But it's back to school time. So there's so many new pens and stationery items for back to school that I find it irresistible. So it's probably my calendars, my stickers, like just mapping out my month, like color coding things.
Do you have a place you like to go? Do you just like wander the aisles of Walmart, or do you have like a special place that you go? Like, are you one of the people who has like special brands that you like?
Well, I am definitely a lover of the Happy Planner, which is mostly online now. There's
Okay.
like Michael sells like the calendars, the planners.
Well, I can see them behind you. I mean, people watch it or listening obviously can't, but they all have like the same like
discs.
binding,
Yeah.
like spiral.
Yeah, well, they're discs. They're actually like circular discs. So
Okay,
that
so you can add
you
pages.
can add and remove pages, right? So as I put in like,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, I could add pages to calendars, like all of my trackers. I love to track things, my spreadsheets. Yeah.
Interesting. And stickers, you color code. Is it like are you all paper? Do you do a digital calendar?
I do have a digital calendar.
Okay.
But I use my paper calendar to like visually see like a month at a glance and like color code. When do I have events? When do I have family things? When do I have kid things? Like just to kind of color code. And it's also like a memory book. Like then it turns into like,
Well, that's the thing. You have like 30 of them behind you. You keep them. Do you go back and like reminisce over your old calendar, or like what do you do with those?
It's funny. Every once in a while, like something will come up and be like, when did we? And I can pull out the book and be like, oh, it was this date. Like when I dated my husband, we went on one date in like 1996 and we didn't see each other again for like 9 years.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, did you write that in your calendar? And I was like, of course.
Oh my God. They're like your diaries. I love that. Oh, that's really cool. All right. And last question. What is a small piece? It can be teeny tiny, a small piece of business advice for our listeners.
Keep learning, like take all the classes. Even if you think something is pricey, like a convention or a class, like you will make your money back. 100% buy the ticket.
Love it. Love it. Well, Dori, thank you so much. Where can people find you if they want to check out you and your business?
So you can find me on Instagram at Total Party. You can find me on Facebook, Total Party LLC. Total-party.com is my website. But I feel like, yeah.
And if you just attend any event, she'll be there. And you will be at Summit. There are still tickets available for Summit, I believe. So you will be at Summit. You are on staff. And we all hang out together all week in Florida.
Yeah.
So if you want to come, there will be a link in the show notes if you'd like to join me and Dori.
Be there.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It was so nice chatting with you. Always a delight. And I will see you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light. Our presenting sponsor is 17 Hats, the CRM I use to cut the chaos and manage my entire balloon business. From the lead capture form on my website to workflows and email templates, invoicing and grab-and-go garland automated bookings, it's all powered by 17 Hats, the best customer relationship management system for balloon businesses. There's even a 50% off coupon code waiting for you in the show notes wherever you're listening. I'll see you next week in another episode.